afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Peart. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Mayberry Investments, and I'll be host for this special occasion. It's a pleasure to be here for Mayberry's second virtual investor forum, and today we're going to do things a little differently than we did last month. Joining us today will be our first guest, and he's here virtually. And his name is Mr., and I hope I get it correct, it's Mr. Iago Castro Iziguirre. He's the Director and General Manager of the Caribbean Cement Company Limited. And as you know, Iago is the General Manager of Caribbean Cement, but his history in business goes way back, courtesy of a dynamic educational background. Iago obtained a BSc in Chemical Engineering, Competence de Madrid, and an Executive MBA from the IE Business School. He has a strong technical and operational background coupled with financial and strategic management skills. Iago is also equipped with industrial and strategic experience. He has worked for 15 years with Cemex in Europe, Midwest, and Central America. In 2018, he was appointed as a general manager of Arawak Cement Company Limited. And of course, we now know him as a general manager of Caribbean Cement Company. Even better, he's tuning in today to update investors and enlighten us all about Caribbean Cement. Please join me in welcoming Iago to our virtual investor forum. Iago? There you are.
Good afternoon to all.
Afternoon.
Thanks for the invitation, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for accepting it. So, everybody has a lot of questions for you today. But what I want to do is I want to first start and ask you just to give us an overview of Caribbean Cement, certainly from when you came and to where it is today, and obviously with COVID and how things has been going in the Jamaican economy. So yeah, go take a couple minutes and carry us through that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this being almost 1 year since I came to this beautiful country. First time I came was July last year. As you know, our predecessor, Peter Donkerslot, decided to leave the company and come back to his country. It's an opportunity, so I had the privilege to substitute him. And as I said before, you know, it's almost been already 1 year. A lot of things has happened in this time, I must tell you. You know, this Carib Cement is a super dynamic company in a super dynamic environment. So it's been a lot of fun, to be honest, in this year. A lot of things has gone on and is still going on. And lately, well, as you all know, everything is biased, everything is conditioned by the new COVID-19 situation. This pandemic has changed absolutely everything, and it's conditioning the way of doing business, not only in Jamaica, but all around the world, I must say. And of course, we are not an exception. So how do we see things? I mean, we'll have the opportunity to go through all the details that you want in the coming minutes. But what I would like to say is that, I mean, this is a beautiful country, this is a beautiful market and a beautiful business for us worldwide. We see Jamaica as a very nice place to do business, investments and business in a different variety of sectors. Things were coming very good. I mean, from a macroeconomical point of view, you know, the sentiment, I must say, from external foreign investors was really keen to come to do business here in Jamaica for many reasons. I mean, as I said, you know, it's a beautiful country, very well located, yes, very close to US, close also to Latin America, and quite business friendly, in my opinion, in order to do business. So all the perspectives were coming very good. I think the numbers, it's not that I'm saying that, I mean, the numbers are there. I mean, the macroeconomics of the country were solid, and the fundamentals were evolving very well. So all this thing is really, as I said before, conditioning everything, but I'm trying to be optimistic, and I'm being more and more optimistic every day. I think that somewhat, you know, the management of the whole crisis has been pretty good, and the numbers are there, you know, the curve is being flattened, and it's getting flattened every day more and more, and we're just expecting and waiting for the possibility of starting de-escalating or opening up the economy again. Once that happens, we will see what is what they say now, the new normal in terms of the industry, in terms of the sector. But we think we are doing our part internally in the company, and try to leverage on that and to capitalize the possible upside in the coming months. Hopefully everything, or the worst has been left behind. We're trusting for the best, and good times are about to come.
Thank you, Iago. Thank you for that introduction. So what we're going to do, I'll post a variety of questions to you. The genesis of these questions have come from the Mayberry Research Department, from people online, and other stockholders and investors that want to hear about Carib Cement. And one of the first questions, Iago, is one of your biggest inputs is oil and, for want of a better word, electricity. And a question is, how do you hedge against the movement in electricity prices locally, which is fundamentally affected by devaluation?
Okay. Well, as you rightly said, this is one of our main challenges. Actually, 100% of our revenues right now is in local currency, it's Jamaican dollars. But when you see the P&L of the company and you go down to the operational costs, both at a fiscal level and a variable cost level, most of them are nominated in US dollars terms. So you were rightly saying or indicating about the fossil fuels, which is something that, as you probably know better than I, are bought in international markets and are paid in US dollars. And yes, you're right. In the case of the electricity, that we are supplied here locally by JPS, in this case, it's also paid in US dollars terms. Talking about hedge, well, there's not much that we can do in terms of the purchase of electricity. We just renegotiated a new contract last year, which has variable and fixed components in electricity. Within the variable part of the electricity bill is more linked to the international price of the oil and, well, in this case of the Henry Hub, which is an index for the gas. But another important part of that contract is fixed, and there's not much that we can do at this stage. There's a small window, a small opportunity in the hedge of fossil fuels, and we've taken some decisions at the end of last year in order to fix the price of the coal, and well, it's been pretty aligned with the current price of the coal. So I mean, we secure a very nice price, even though the coal price has gone down during the year. That threshold that we were able to fix at the beginning or at the I mean late last year was good enough, so that the price that we are managing right now is more or less aligned with the market, so we are not feeling any downside to those regards.
Thank you for that, Iago. And, the first question is, we find starts on the expense side. But I'll give you an easier one now. What has been the impact on the business in terms of demand for cement since we have gotten into this whole COVID crisis?
Well, the impact has been quite severe. Let me give you some big numbers. In the month of April, we saw a decline of 35% in our sales. So when you're losing a third of your business just from month to month, we are talking about a very big impact. It's true that in relation to what I was saying before about flattening the curve and how the whole thing is evolving, and above all, after the lifting in the close down or entering, we've detected this month a slight increase or a slight recovery of those numbers, but we are still managing double-digit figures decline in the market right now as of May. So talking about our forecast, we will have maybe more time later to talk about the forecast. We're seeing something between 10 and 20% decline in the whole market in annual terms. But of course, the big impact will be concentrated from the month of April till the end of the year. So the three first months of the year were basically normal. So we're talking about between 10 and 20% for the whole year. We are factoring that the first quarter was pretty normal, and we are concentrating the Fed mainly in the second quarter, and we'll see about the third and the fourth quarter, but we are also expecting a decline when you compare like to like against last year.
Thank you for that. Have you seen a similar impact on your export sales? I know you just spoke about the local market, but how hard has the export side been impacted?
Well, export side is being all this time in car cement quite negligible, and you allow me. I mean, it's something that, because of the former situation of that plant, was something that was not creating an excessive revenue for the country, and for car cement in this case. But it's something that we really want to work very hard from now on. Actually, what I was commenting before, we have some kind of debalance between, the Jamaican dollars nominated inflows that we have, because basically 100% of our sales are in the local market, and the US dollars nominated expenses that we have. So what to do in order to offset that is clearly the exports opportunity that we have to seize in the future. So the normal evolution should be, and we're already taking a look to increase our exports in the second half of the year. We are taking a serious look to 3 different destinations within the Caribbean basin, and we are starting to do some trials at Car Cement, because the good thing is that after all the investment that we've been doing in the last 2-3 years, and you know that we've been allocating a lot of capex within the Rockford plant, we were already before the pre-COVID, we were already able to source more than 150% of the market in Jamaica, meaning that the country as of today is completely autonomous in terms of cement production. So yes, definitely looking for more exports. Cayman Island, Bahamas, Bermuda Island, I mean, different other possibilities that we are studying, and hopefully we can crystallize some of them before the year ends.
Okay, at least there's some good news in the middle of that. Can you share with us how we're seeing this slowdown? Can you share with us any, for want of a better word, out of the box type activities that might be happening at the company? Is there an opportunity for you to bring forward maintenance schedules? And finally, how are you dealing with the human resources, the labor aspect of your expenses?
Well, that's a very good one. From the beginning of this crisis, and this is something that has come down from our CEO worldwide, we have been trying to, first of all, to protect our people. I mean, this is a humanitarian crisis that is affecting the whole world from every angle, from every side. But it was clear from a company point of view that we are really interested in protecting the local force. At the same time, as managers, we have the obligation to try to search for the trade-off between that and taking care of the P&L. So what I can tell you is, yes, you're right. We are trying to deal with some backlog that we had in certain maintenance activities, project that we had expected to study or to analyze for the mid-long term because of the day-to-day activities. As these day-to-day activities have slowed down, we have recovered those projects. So we are just somewhat of doing activities out of the box, as you said before. But in the short term, as you know, the level of activity has slowed down, let's say. We've taken the opportunities to also reduce our liability in terms of vacations. I mean, we had a big accrual in terms of vacations that were pending to be enjoyed by our people, vacations from previous years, not from the current year. So that we've just sent some people home, especially people with critical conditions who were part of the, this group that has been defined as a critical group because of, having problems with, heart diseases or, diabetes or that kind of thing. So these people, we have sent them home, and also other people trying to enjoy the vacation that they had pendant. And at the same time, I think it's a good solution. At the same time, they were keeping their cash in, and we were somewhat, slimming down a little bit the liability in our balance sheet.
Great. So, one of the biggest challenges that I'm hearing from my customers, clients, investors at Mayberry is whilst they're in this mode of reducing expenses because of reduction in demand for their business, there's now a concern that when you get past COVID, whatever that looks like, when the demand comes back, how quickly would you be able to ramp up to meet that demand? And the reason this question is so important to you at Cement, we have gone through a period in the past where cement wasn't able to meet the demand in the industry, and there was a lot of negative backlash from that. And you know the role we play, Iago. It doesn't matter how good you run things. When bad things come, people forget how good you were in the past. So what are you potentially putting in place that when the demand comes back, and it's going to come rushing back, what are you putting in place to ensure that Carib Cement will be able to meet that demand?
Well, we're really looking forward to that. I can tell you that there's no problem from our side. We are already prepared. Calling people back to the plant is something that we can do from day to day. As I said before, we are taking the opportunity to do maintenance works and to put everything in order even more than we were before. We were easily sourcing more than 100% of the market without any difficulties. And yes, I'm aware of the difficulties that Carib Cement has had in the past to supply part of the market, but I can tell you that that is just that, part of the past.
Mm-hmm. So if you get up, say in August, the government announces a massive road infrastructure project, all these housing developments start back again, all these pre-concrete businesses are seeking cement to build these out. That is abnormal demand, and so you believe you'll be able to deal with those when it occurs?
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100% sure about that. Please bear in mind that even before the COVID, we were stopping our cement mills more than 30% of the time every day. Our installed capacity is 150% of the total Jamaican market. So we don't produce more because there's no more market. But if it comes back, and hopefully with new big public infrastructure roads, we will be ready to fully capitalize it. No doubts about that.
Okay, so we'll take our first question from the online viewers. And the first question to you, Iago, is how did the company's sales hold up in March, April, and what should you expect for May?
All right. Well, as I said before, March was a pretty normal month. We didn't see any remarkable decline. Different thing was April. April, we saw approximately 35% of decrease in our normal baseline sales, basically as a consequence of the lockdown in St. Catherine at the end of the month. And now in May, we are also seeing a decline compared to the baseline, but not that big. Not 35%. We are seeing something between 10 and 20%. Still, we have to close a month. But definitely, since the lockdown in St. Catherine was lifted up, the market has improved a little bit. So we have not come back to the previous levels yet. We are not expecting so in the coming months, probably neither. But yes, when you compare May with April, definitely there's an important recovery there.
Thank you, Iago. Another question, a little bit harder. we have actually seen where the stock has recovered from a low a couple of years ago of 62 cents, and it traded as high as I think $84 the last couple of months. Obviously, since COVID, it's one of the companies that have been hit, and the share price traded down to $48. So one of the questions, and which investors started to come back into the stock, was the belief that within the near future, dividends would start to be paid. And so the question to you is, when do you believe the company will start to pay dividends?
Okay. As you know, we have a lot. What we have a lot is uncertainty in front of us. So we cannot really now forecast on how the rest of the year is going to be, how the market is going to perform, and we don't have reliable projections on our P&L result for the 20. So what I can tell you is that we have announced a stop in the dividends payment as a company worldwide, and I honestly and personally don't see Carib Cement going against that global direction at this stage, above all considering all the uncertainty that we have ahead. As far as I know, Carib Cement has not paid any dividends so far, or at least in the last years. It's something that eventually in the future we would love to probably take into consideration and probably do, because that would mean that the company is performing well, that the market has recovered, and that we have a healthy business in our hands. But now I think it's time to act properly as managers, to try to keep cash with us as much as possible, to try to defer non-essential expenses, to take a very good look to the capex allocation that we might do, to minimize that is not strictly necessary in the short term. So we have a liquidity issue in the short term. I'm not talking about Carib Cement. I'm talking about any business all around the world. So we have to be focused, in my opinion, in making our best, to keep that liquidity cushion at a good level. Also, not try to secure the solvency of the company in the mid-long term. And probably once we have more visibility about how this whole COVID thing is going to evolve, and we have more visibility about the market and the market demand, we'll see maybe next year whether we might be in a situation to start, studying the possibility of paying dividends. But honestly, 2020, I don't think it's going to be an easy year for any company, and I don't see it's going to be the best year maybe for starting paying dividends. That probably have not been paid so far in the past by the company.
Thank you, Iago. We all know Guyana is projected to be the fastest growing country from a GDP perspective this year with the discovery of oil, etc. Does Carib Cement have any opportunities there that could positively impact you, or is that TCL, or is that another subsidiary of CEMEX that would benefit from Guyana?
Yes, you're right. Guyana is one of the markets that we have more faith in for the coming years. All the oil discoveries really are going to ramp up the GDP growth, especially now in terms dramatically. And it's a market that we are currently supplying from Barbados. We have a cluster. We are organized as a cluster in Barbados and Guyana, and we are currently supplying that market from Barbados. But it might be a possibility for Carib Cement, maybe acting as a backup from Barbados, or if that market starts really growing up as much as it's expected, it might be that Barbados or even Trinidad eventually won't be able to source it all, and then an opportunity for Carib Cement might arise. But if you take a map and you will see where Guyana is located and where is Jamaica, is the whole Caribbean, between the two places. So the maritime freight is super big, and it costs a lot of money. But eventually, if the growth of that market is going to happen, and Carib Cement has an opportunity, we'll go for it.
Okay. Well, we look forward. We think you should try and extract some of that. But question, your parent company, Cemex, what value added do they bring to Caribbean Cement?
Well, I'm a Cemex guy, so my answer is going to be very personal here. Well, I think Cemex is one of the most important cement multinationals worldwide. I mean, it's not that we have state-of-the-art facilities all around the world. It's that we've been producing cement for decades. We have a solid, let's say, structure, a solid strategy. I think we know how to do things very well related to the cement business. And I think that the value that Cemex is bringing to a company like Cara Cement is just there. I mean, you can see the numbers. Since Cemex took over TCL Group and consequently Cara Cement 4 years ago, you were talking before about the value of the share, and you know that investors are probably the most clever people in the world. So if they are set to pay more for a company, it's because they are seeing good things behind it. So what I would say is that we know how to operate the cement business, and we know what we have to do. We took this whole plan 4 years ago. The plan was in some of the sections in a terrible condition. I must tell you, I mean, honestly talking, we've been pumping a lot of money, pumping a lot of capex, bringing the best technicians that we have all over the world here. We have people, you know, here in Jamaica working on a daily basis, trying to train the local people. You know, we are creating that very nice mix between the local talent and the international talent, if you want, and we are making the whole thing grow together. And for example, COVID is another example. I mean, we are a multinational that is obsessed about health and safety. And that's why we've been so agile and so, let's say, quick in adapting protective measures, safety protocols in order to protect our people against COVID. And you can go to the plant, and you're more than invited, Gary. Anytime you want to come, you're more than welcome. And you will see how many preventive measures do we have since the time you get to the gate of the plant. Since the time you leave the plant, you will see how many controls and how many things we have to protect our people. And that is an inheritance of the multinational Cemex that we are.
Thank you. Is there opportunities, or are you guys exploring opportunities for different products? For example, concrete roads. How are those projects going? We see one or two, what I would call little projects about the place. Is there a future in concrete roads for the country?
Yes, definitely, Gary. I think that is one of our main strategic initiatives for I would say, the coming years. Well, just to give you an example, 2 years ago, I was in charge of the Central America cluster with the planning department, and we used to make a lot of concrete roads in Nicaragua, for example. And Nicaragua is a very poor country, but they really found or saw that there was an implicit value in the fact of doing the concrete roads, which are roads that you have to pay a little bit more at the beginning, but that is more than, you know, offset by the fact that those roads will last much more time, and the needs of maintenance after you build them is lower. So that is the rationale that we need to start sharing and working with the authorities here, probably working together with the ministry. But we have very good experience. It's not only that we can produce the concrete just to pour and make the road, it's also that we have very powerful infrastructure divisions, for example, in Cemex Mexico, and we will be willing not only to provide the product, but also to provide the expertise, you know, the technical experience that we have in other countries in order to make this initiative a reality. But I think that you're right. This is a strategic initiative that we need to start working with the government and the suitable ministries in the coming months and years.
Thank you. Give you one last question, a simple one. With all these social distancing protocols, what type of impact does it have on your production process?
Well, that is a very good question, Gary. Because of the proper nature of our business and the proper nature of Cara Cement, we're still receiving let's say, something like 500 people every day at the plant. So physical distancing or social distancing is the main challenge that we have. I mean, with back office people is probably easier because most of our people are working on remote. We took that decision, I would say, even 2 months ago. So we basically sent a lot of people home, working from home, and it's working pretty well, I must say. But with the operational people who must stay there, working every day to produce cement, to pack cement, to put the bags of cement on top of the trailers, also for the drivers, this is a very big challenge. So we are preparing as much as we can within the plan. We have certain areas reserved for people. We are trying to differentiate the different sections, as I said, for example, in the canteen, in the different offices, and we are trying also to insist a lot in the importance of the low density of people. I mean, we are trying to avoid gatherings, we are trying to avoid meetings, we are trying to avoid large gatherings, especially in closed spaces. But at the end, we are the kind of company that we are. We are the kind of industry that we are. We've been cataloged as an essential industry for the country, so we have not stopped operations during all the pandemic time, even the last 2 months, not even one day. And we are a 24/7 process, so we need to keep on going. But social distancing is something that we need to keep on communicating to our people, communicating to external workers, the importance of not gathering, not meeting if it's not strictly necessary, and try to avoid, gather, And I think that is a challenge that is not only that we had before, it's a challenge that we'll be having in the coming months. Hopefully, not a lot of months, but till we have the COVID-19 with us.
Yeah, so I want to end on a little controversial note. There are some people who argue that Jamaica should allow clinker plants to operate. My question to you is, if you could explain to potential investors out there, why shouldn't a clinker plant be set up, and what's the pros and cons of a clinker plant as opposed to the pros and cons of having a fully built-out cement plant?
All right. Well, I mean, you must understand something. I don't want to get into, too deep into the technical aspect of the question, but clinker is like basically 85% of the process. And clinker is basically made through limestone and shale. Those two raw materials are present abundantly here in Jamaica. And I can tell you, they are a very good quality. So when you produce clinker outside, you are leaving 85% of the workers outside in a foreign country. You are leaving 85% of the taxes outside in a foreign country. You are leaving 85% of the whole economy outside in a foreign country. So why is it that we have to renounce as a country to produce something that we can do locally, that we can fully benefit from it locally with very nice raw materials and very nice local workforce, and we can completely do it here? I mean, the market is what it is. It's not that the market is going to grow because someone else is just putting a clinker factory here just to bring the clinker from Turkey or from China, leaving 85% of the revenues in those foreign countries, and they are bringing the clinker here, and they are producing just the last part of the process just to produce some cement. At the end, the market is what it is, and there's no value created for the country in the fact of just bringing 15% of the total process, leaving it there in Jamaica, and taking 85% of the process from somewhere else. Because let me tell you something, I mean, what we do here is not just producing cement. What we do here is just creating a little whole economy around carb cement. We are talking about 500 people entering the plant every day between internal and external workers, not talking about, the different collaborators that we have. We have more than 600 local suppliers that they are supplying us with a lot of things, spares, local manpower, technical advice, a lot of things, So at the end, when you take into consideration the benefit of creating a whole economy around it, and compare that with the scheme of just creating short-term benefit from a few, from people who are only doing trading with a commodity like cement, then for me, the answer is quite clear. We have the right scheme here. It gives us independence. I was telling before that we are more than capable of sourcing 150% of the whole Jamaican market. So we have the autonomy to do it, and that gives us also some leverage as a country not to depend on external sources of some kind of materials, because when you do so, you will be exposed to the fluctuation of those prices also in different countries. And here you have the possibility to have a very good local product produced by local Jamaicans with the highest standards that you can find somewhere else. So in my opinion, there's no point in, of course, I'm an interested opinion in this stage or at this stage, but I think that we have solid arguments and we've demonstrated that. And I think it's creating a lot of value, not only for the company, also for the sector and for the country as a whole.
Iago, I thank you for that wonderful response. I mean, in short, the country benefits significantly more from having its own cement plant as opposed to a clinker plant. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the forum, and I want to first thank again Iago for being here. Before I go into that a little further, I want to say to our viewers out there, we understand that there have been difficulties with the sound, but I want you to know that by tomorrow you'll be able to hear the full forum without an issue with the sound tomorrow on YouTube. And I mean that it will be fully filtered. You can hear the thing properly at that point in time. So I invite you to tune into YouTube tomorrow. You get the full question and answers there. At this stage in our physical forum, we would actually now present a painting to our guests. Iago, I understand the painting is to your right. We won't be able to physically present it to you, but we're giving you this gift in thanks for your being able to come to be here today with us. Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
So again, we have come to the end of our second virtual forum. I want to again thank Iago and his team at Carib Cement. So to our viewers, Iago, thank you all for being part of our first virtual investor forum. And you know, we try to do new things every day in Mayberry. And with all this uncertainty hanging in the air, it is important that occasions such as this remain active to provide clarity for our investors. The Mayberry Investor Forum has been playing this role for 23 years. We're pleased to see that even in the midst of a crisis, there are still ways in which we can play this role to our clients and the wider community. After all, we understand that there is a surplus of doubt regarding the markets, and many are concerned with their financial futures. But we hope that this forum today helped remind most of us, if not all of us, that the wise investor is in it for the long haul. Carib Cement is not going away tomorrow. It's going to be here with us for a while. The present and near term may look uncertain, but historically, a little patient always sees the market flourish. In the past, the markets have never been negatively impacted in any way that is significant over the long term, especially with good companies like Caribbean Cement. With this knowledge, we must continue to build out our financial futures, never losing sight of our goals. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in today to be a part of this forum. And remember, wise investors, slow and steady wins the race. Thanks.